Welcome to my newest video. My name is LookAtTheBacon and here's my set 5 update for my Amber Sapphire list. At first I wanted to quickly congratulate the folks who won their set championships in set 4 with the deck. Absolutely amazing stuff. Thanks for sharing the deck lists, guys. And yeah, I'm very proud of you for doing so well with the deck. Good job. Now on to the new deck, the set 5 general overview. We have 60 cards as always. We have 15 Sapphire cards and 45 Amber cards. We have 44 inkable cards and 16 uninkable cards, and we're running 60 characters. Onto the curve, we run 8 1-drops, 14 2-drops, 18 3-drops, 8 4-drops, 8 5-drops, 2 7-drops, and 2 10-drops. And I will also, of course, go over these cards one by one quickly. Our 1-drops are the new Daisy Duck, which is an amazing addition to any aggro deck, and the tried and tested Lilu. Then we have in the 2 slot all tried and tested cards from last set as well. 4 Piglets, 4 Simbas, and 3 Annas, 3 Auroras. Onto the 3 slot we have Donald Ducks, 4 of, and 3 Baloos as bodyguards to protect our questers, and we have the Giulietta Madrigal for draw, as well as the Hans for additional questing. And we have a new top dog in the house, which is Wendy Darling, which is an absolutely interesting and equally amazing addition, because it lets us win on the draw against hyper aggro if we support her and give these 3 attack to the Daisy, the Lilu, the Anna, stuff like that, the Giulietta, and therefore we can trade Daisy and it won't get removed by steel removal, stuff like that, because it has ward beforehand, so you will always get the support of even against other decks. So this is a great addition for us on the draw. Then on the 4 slot we have a Rapunzel, gifted with healing 4 times, and the newest Sven, which comes in clutch, the reindeer steed 4 times to ready our characters again, so they cannot get challenged. We have 3 shift Kitas without the small shift line to protect our characters in the 5 slot, as well as 1 King Candy for draw. He's a little bit better than the Kramatala right now in my opinion, but you could also switch him for a Kramatala if you really wanted. And then heart and soul of the deck right now are the 4 Mufasas. We have cut all the Annas and stuff because we want to go full minion build, full consistency, and make him work all the time. And here we have gotten an amazing tool in the Wreck-It Ralph Admiral Underpants, which is a 7 mana 6/7 that says when you play this character, return a character card from your discard to your hand. If that card is a princess character card, gain 2 lore. And as you can see, we have 3 big Kitas as princesses, 4 Rapunzels as princesses, as well as 3 Auroras. So when you drop the Mufasa and his ability triggers and you top deck a Wreck-It Ralph, you will certainly have 1 of the 10 princesses already in your discard pile, and so you will get the additional 2 lore and have an amazing body on board. You will never play this on curve, you will most probably never go up to 7 ink anyway, you stop at 5. And yeah, the 2 Journal Box are absolutely amazing as well, because if they get drawn from the Mufasa, it's broken and it wins you the game on the spot. And we have so many characters that will get removed eventually at some point, and so they will be discounted heavily, so we can afford to run 2. Yeah, this is a great aggro deck. This is basically a Bluefasa deck, because we're running Mufasa with some blue additions, and this line is just amazing. Still, the Anna, Aurora, and Hans, it's so quick, it's so fast. Anna has the same stat line as the Daisy, basically is a 2-for-1 trade most of the time. The Aurora has the 2 lore and the Hans will get the immediate lore. It's like a goat. You always have to think of it like a faster goat. And sometimes even if you don't have the Anna and the Aurora out, the enemy will have a princess or queen themselves oftentimes, and so you can trigger from that as well. Don't forget this trigger. Now let me talk about some specifics here. We have only 8 1-drops. For an aggro deck, many people will say, oh my gosh, this is too less, you need to run way more. I've seen an Artifacts list with Amber Amethyst where he ran like 24 1-drops or something, and he said you could run even more, and I disagree with that. An aggro deck doesn't need to run that many 1-drops, because especially if you reach the mid game, you don't want to top deck 1-drops. They are too weak in power level, don't have enough questing power or stat power, and so yeah, you want to have a higher curve in my opinion. And if I can remind you, the Bochum finals saw Teotim Bucho against Ruben Gutierrez, and both ran only 4 1-drops, and each of them had in their Ruby Amethyst decks only 4 1-drops. So this was this was totally greedy, and they both got away with it, and sometimes even skipping their turn 1. Yes, they didn't use aggro decks, that is correct. It's more like a mid-range to control deck, absolutely true. But with 8 1-drops, you will more often than not always have a 1-drop on 1, and that's what we want, and so we don't need the additional 1-drops that hard. Also, they are uninkable anyway, so they don't matter as much later. Yeah, and the second thing is the Mufasa. Many people say this card is bad and say this card is weak and not consistent enough, but firstly, of course, running 60 characters will mean that he will always get his trigger off after he gets removed. And secondly, I did some stats digging for you, and I rewatched the finals from the Atlanta Challenge winner Joshua Poultry. And not only the finals, but also his other broadcasted live match on the stream, which was the semifinals. And I put all these stats down regarding Mufasa to finally end this discussion once and for all. I can show it to you. In game 1, he drew Mufasa twice and played it twice. And what did he get out of it? He got a 1-drop Cinderella, the one to sing that sings for 3, a 2-drop Madame M Snake, and the third time it didn't trigger because the enemy immediately conceded when the third Mufasa came down. The game was won. In the semifinals game 2, he drew Mufasa also twice, again, played it twice, and he got a 5-drop Fairy Godmother with 3/4 stats that quests for 2, and a 3-drop Fairy Godmother 3/4 that quests for 1 of it. He also won that game. Finals game 1, he drew Mufasa 0 times and lost the game. And in the finals game 2, he drew Mufasa twice, played it twice, got a 6-drop Perdita, a 3-drop Madame M Fox, and a 5-drop Fairy Godmother from it, and won the game. And in the third finals game, he drew Mufasa twice, played it twice, got a 1-drop Pascal 1/1, and the second time it didn't even trigger because the enemy immediately conceded. So, these are the takeaways. In 5 games, he inked it 0 times. 0%. He played it, therefore, 100 times in 5 games, aka 11 out of 11 times. He drew it 2.2 times per game, because he ran a 4-off, and his trigger rate was 73%, aka 8 out of 11 times. The win rate when played was 100%. All 5 games he drew it, he played it, he won the game. And now I did some math, and the ink cost median of his pulls, if we take every single pull here, is was rather 2.875 ink. So approximately he got a 3-drop out of it. And I counted all the minions in our deck and took the median of all the minions costs minus 1 Mufasa. So from 59 cards, because you need, of course, a Mufasa that needs to draw something off your deck. And the result was 3.183. So we have an even higher rate of getting a 3-drop or better out of it when he triggers. So this is something to keep in mind. Approximately you will get a 3-drop. If you high roll, get a Chernobog, it's auto win. If you get a Wreck-It Ralph, it's close to auto win. Don't forget this. I see many people that say, okay, if you run a Mufasa list or a Red Fasa list, for instance, you need to run more high cost characters. That's wrong in my opinion. You don't necessarily need to rely on these high cost characters, because as you can see, people won a challenge with Mufasa and he sometimes drew a 1 or 2 drop. So it's definitely possible even if you get cheaper minions, especially with the newest power level of these crazy 1-drops which have amazing stats. 1/4 quests for 2 for 1 cost. So yeah, this is only making Mufasa better, of course. I know the games from this statistical data that I brought up were from a different meta, and the sample size of course is very low, yes, but at least it proves that in high-level competitive games the card certainly doesn't underperform, it overperforms. Okay, now on to our matchups. In my opinion, this deck is amazing and definitely favored against late game control decks like Ruby Sapphire and Sapphire Steel. It can absolutely outpace Ember Amethyst, Hyper Aggro and other Mufasa decks like Red Fasa lists. I have tried this several times and it worked all the time. It forms homebrews or greedier mid-range decks like Emerald Sapphire, Emerald Ruby, or even some of the newer Ruby Amethyst lists because they don't reach B-Prep fast enough. And Mufasa is a great B-Prep protection. And yeah, it's quite even against Amethyst Steel, but we have to be honest, it's quite weak to Steel Song, which is our worst matchup, and also quite weak to discard decks like newer versions of Emerald Steel, Lemon Lime, or variants of Emerald Amethyst. Yeah, so what about possible subs? In my opinion, the King Candy is a sub possibility, which I talked about before. You could run some Kidas less for a little bit more of some more of the Annas and Auroras to make the deck a little bit faster. You could also cut some of the Wendy's to put in 1 or 2 more 1-drops if you desperately need them, but the other 1-drops are quite weak in this color combination, so I think the deck list is quite fine as it is. But if you desperately want some more 1-drops, you could also cut some Svens and include some small Kidas to enable the shift line and to have more princesses for the trigger of Wreck-It Ralph. This is totally possible and just slows the deck down by a little bit, but definitely don't cut Draw and the Rapunzels, Julietas or the King Candy, as it is needed big time to refill our hand after we dumped everything. But if you lack Draw and say, oh my gosh, we never get this heal draw off from the Julieta and from the Rapunzel, then you should definitely consider the new card Invited to the Ball, which reveals the top 2 cards of your deck and puts revealed character cards directly in your hand. This is a negative synergy with Mufasa, of course, but 4 copies wouldn't be that crazy. I mean, you could do the math yourself, how it reduces the chances of drawing a minion. It's not that crazy. So this will draw you 2 minions for sure. It's very unlikely to draw another Invited to the Ball, so this could be a great replacement if you desperately need more draw. Yeah, that's it about the subs. This is very short and sweet. And then I'm on to my final thoughts, actually. I heard so much negative feedback on the color combination, also on the newest tier lists again. I understand what these people are saying, and they are pros oftentimes, and I get where they're coming from, but this deck is definitely still underestimated. It's an underdog deck that catches people off guard, that catches people by surprise, and you will have the benefit of a doubt when you play stuff like Anna, Aurora into Hans and they are like, what the fuck are these cards? Can I read them please? And that's always a good sign. Yeah. And regarding these tier lists, I am definitely sure that we are 100% better than Ruby Steel, because Ruby Steel doesn't work at all in my opinion. And we are, in my opinion, also better than Emerald Sapphire, Emerald Ruby, and most global decks even. They haven't found the perfect list right now, and we are amazing on the play, very quick, very fast, lowering wise, speed wise, and on the draw the Wendy is just amazing, and we don't have to interact with the enemy at all, because if he interacts with us, he will trigger the Mufasa eventually, he will enable our channel box, and then it's hard for him to catch us again. Yeah, so last thing for me, there were many imposters and net deckers in the web that said, yeah, this is my deck, and the Crush the Meta Bochum deck was my idea and stuff like that. Please don't be that guy. I mean, just give me a shout out or something if you use the list, if you want to showcase it. Of course you could make changes, of course you could say it's your deck, but I think this is a little rude, and yeah. If you had the same idea, by God, then all good, but this specific combination of Mufasa with the Princess line is unique in my opinion, and therefore credit should be where credit's due. Anyway, don't want to end this at a negative note, so thanks to each and every single one of you, sorry guys, for your follows, for your kind comments, for any question, any room for debate, discussions. I'm always open to talk, and thank you so much for every support. Best of luck to you with the deck. Let's see if anyone of you can surprise their set champs with it, or maybe even take home Las Vegas or Birmingham. Good luck to you, and bye bye for now. If you wanna see another mulligan guide for this deck, let me know.